And we are live, and we are here with my man, Ben 10, in the house. Listen, for you guys tuning in to the DM Health Show, the live show, this is episode number 6. And to be quite honest, Ben, I've been looking forward to this one more than any of the other ones that I've done previously. And I think it's because like we've kind of got common backgrounds, and you've got such an inspirational story, like from the turnaround you made to become a person who helps people with their physical, mental, and emotional well-being. I really enjoy listening to your stuff as well, mate. I love listening to you talk and some of the message that you spread, and it's important to get that out there. So I've been really looking forward to getting you on here. For you guys tuning in, this is the kind of stuff that we're going to be talking about. So if you are looking to upgrade, transform your health, your mindset, your body, physical, mental, emotional well-being to any degree whatsoever, there's a lot of important steps in that process. There's a lot of essential things that has been part of my change, my transformation, and I know it's going to be the same for Ben. And these are some of the reasons why people struggle and bounce back and forward. So we're going to talk about a lot of that stuff, and I'm sure that you're going to find this conversation extremely helpful in your journey of change. So with that said, Ben, for the people that are tuning in, mate, can you just give us a quick rundown, like who are you, what do you do, and how did this come about? How did you start getting into this kind of field?
Yeah, great question, and I appreciate being on here. Like I said, the feeling is very mutual, and hearts connect, right? And from when we had you on our podcast with Si and hearing your story, I think relations very important. Not singling out women, but especially for men at the minute, finding a way. And the reflection of where you was and where you've been and some of the stories that you told, absolute admiration. So I've been looking forward to this, mate, because it's just two dudes, we're no one special. Just a couple of men finding our way in the world. And this really started for me, my reality of the world, because I think I was living in a dreamland for such a long time. I think it happened a bit by accident, but also by chance. And, I believe everybody gets an opportunity, but not everybody takes that chance. And there was a part of my life, I was about 20, 24. Coming from Manchester at the time, right slap bang in the centre, I grew up in a place called Longside. And it wasn't the best environments for a lot of young men growing up. It got its nickname, aka Gunchester, for the wrong reasons, and it held up to that name. It really did. But where you was on that spectrum with shit going sideways, was really, but looking back in it, was part of my choice. But anyway, without boring you on that, leaving school with minimal education and a pat on the back to say don't come back again was an understatement, right? And I struggled in school because I struggled with reading and writing, and because I struggled with that, I was deemed disobedient, asking the questions for like, I don't get it. And then obviously when you start to feel a bit outcast, you start to rebel. Well, I did at the time anyway. And so I had a bit of an hard time at school with the teachers, but at the same time, I had a great time. I feel like I was popular probably for the wrong reasons. But at that age, I was still very morally conducted with, what I believed I was going to do. And it was tough for people to knock me off that pedestal. So there was always some confrontation. I would stand up for myself. And when I left school, in fact, kicked out of school, with very slim opportunities, with an entrepreneur mindset, I was bad company, and bad company attracts bad company, Dean. And that experience in some ways served me well, and at some ways was probably my darkest moments of my life. But it got to a point when I was going back to when I was 24, going through this lifestyle. This particular year, like gang violence, even though I wasn't particularly involved in gang violence, despised it, to be fair, but was involved in that culture. A friend was shot dead, and then at a funeral, another friend was shot dead. And in all fairness, it was friends with friends, right? It depends where you was in the scenario. But at that point, I think in my life, I started to question stuff, you know, because it was all about the brotherhood. It was all about, look, you know, this makes sense. You know, if the streets are giving me opportunity, and I'm looking for opportunity, I had that entrepreneur mindset. I was looking, you know, for from the streets is it's hard to start reflecting on yourself when you start questioning it, but questions were coming. Like I was starting to doubt what I was doing. I was starting to think there was more to life than what I was seeing, because it just wasn't making sense. And the greed and the bitterness and the lies and the deceit and the environment was just a cesspit of illmatic. Anyhow, my wife, who I'm with now, sorry, my girlfriend, who's now my wife, we ended up, her sister ended up being diagnosed with cancer. And I just remember thinking, Jesus Christ, like, you know, like I've seen a lot of death and mass destruction, but seeing this young girl go through this fight and seeing the strength of this young girl and seeing the strength of this family, like I was just mesmerized by it. And I've got a massive heart. That's probably one of my biggest problems, Dean, is that, you know, I have a level of overcare. I would take on people's problems. So I was the first person to, if I had money, I would, you know, make sure that people was fed and, you know, stick up for people who wasn't able to stick up for themselves. But, you know, that has never changed in me. I think that's why, you know, transition to a culture, which we'll get into in a minute, just comes natural. But I was inspired by this strength of character. And, but I just remember thinking, Jesus, you know, if there's one thing that death's taught me, and it is we never know when it's coming, but it's coming to us all. And I think that's where I really started to say, I need to change my ways, right? I need to start living a different life. And unfortunately, anyway, so I got with Lisa, and unfortunately we got together and she got pregnant and we lost a baby. And through complications or whatever, we had a ceremony. And then 5 days later, I found myself in jail. And I remember going to jail, not like I was like, oh, you know, like I shouldn't be here, you know, like I was there for the right reasons. But I think what it done, it gave me time to think. And I remember sat in a cell one time, Dean, and I remember thinking, I've been blaming a lot of people for my reality. And at that point, I was 17 stone. I was very sick. I was an angry individual. I was very acidic. I was very like entitled, very victim mentality to my circumstances. And it was like an epiphany. I remember thinking, geez, you know, I ain't a product of my circumstances. I'm a product of my own decisions. And it was like a breakdown to break through. I knew then that something had to change. And that's where, by luck, an opportunity come through my co-defendant for ex-cons to start working in a gym.
That's now that's something that I was wanting to ask you about, mate, because we spoke about this last week when we caught up, and we were talking about what we were going to talk about on this call and this live even. And you know, that's why I want to kind of go down this route, because it's like, you know, we could get on here and we could talk about split squats and lat pull downs and interval sessions and hill sprints and all those kind of things for physical transformation. But so you've got such a powerful story, and you've had these points and turning points in your life where you could have went the other way, but you didn't. You know, you took the opportunities that were presented to you, and I'm sure you've had some ups and downs even along those routes, and those are the things that really help people change. Those are the important things. You know, the fitness, the nutrition tactics, and all these kind of things are all tools, small tools along that journey, and those aren't the reasons that people fail. Those aren't the reasons that people slip back and decide, you know what, this stuff isn't for me. So let's get into that stuff, mate. What was your kind of thought processes? What was going through your head when you had that opportunity to potentially become, you know, a trainer who worked in a gym? Currently being a guy who's 17 stone and, you know, haven't haven't been looking after your health to the best degree.
Absolutely. I mean, you're bang on in what you're saying, and I struggle for me because I think, and I always have done, and at that point in my life when I was making that decision, one thing that was anchoring me is that I just adored danger. I adored being dangerous. So this mentality in me was just like, that's all it was. And to get this opportunity to work in a gym was massive conflict with my own character. I was like, really? Like, I'm 17 stone. And I let it be known, as much as I thought it was something, at the end of the day, I had my own insecurities. I was very weak-minded. My anger would come from an insecurity. I had no self-love, no self-respect. I had a lot of sabotaging behaviors. And for me, when you speak about a gym, you think of, it's about being in shape and healthy habits, and which was a complete contrast to who I was. So it was a real challenge in terms of making that decision. But I had no other options. And it was a bit of encouragement from the people around me, which I think is massively important. And I thought, I'm going to take this opportunity. And I remember the first day I walked in. In fact, me and my co-defendant couldn't even be in the same. My co-D couldn't even be in the same gyms. Couldn't be together because he would actually go back to jail if we was even within 6 foot. Talk about the 6 meter rule. That was a real rule, and if it was broken, people went back to jail. But I remember walking in, and I was greeted with a smiling face. And remember, at that point, like, being in the army, like, we call them civilians, right? We look at the civilian lifestyle as if it's an operation or a community that doesn't exist to us. Like, we feel detached from it. So I remember this guy, in fact, girl, Katie Evans, she was smiling. She walked me around the gym. And at this point, I've still got my ego. I've still got, who am I? And these people don't know who I am. Never heard of me before. That shit don't stand up well where we are in this gym. And she walked me around the gym, and she introduced me to the manager. And the manager looked me dead in the eye. She goes, well, you know where you need to be. Now go and do it. And I remember thinking, what? It was insane. And everybody was so nice to me that day. And I remember coming home to my girlfriend and going, they're all shady bastards. And she's like, why? I'm like, they're all too nice. I'm sure they're trying to stab me in the back. They're trying to set me up. And she's like, are you that deranged? Maybe they're just being nice. I was like, no, I think they've got it in for me, Anyway, but just out of sheer lack of, like, what else have I got? One day turned into a week turned into a month. And I started to make progress, and I remember starting to train and starting to feel better, which I was searching for such a long time. And I was finding it in violence, I was finding it in arguments, I was finding it in sedated behaviors, I was finding it in having power and authority and all the shit that comes with this nonsense. Like, that was where I felt good, or thought I felt good, And but I remember training, I remember thinking, geez, man, I feel better. Like, I actually feel better. It feels crazy. I think I even slept better that night. And so, me with that addictive personality, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to do it proper. And I think that lasted me in good stead. And I started to really make some traction. And then people around me started to believe in me, which I'd not really seen before, started to trust me. I started the same mannerisms a little bit. There was a transformation process. Then I seen a friend that I've not seen for a while. And he said, yeah, I've heard you're doing a gym bit. I said, mate, you're looking well. He said, yeah, I've been. Okay. Well, what's going on there? He says, mate, you'll love it. You're a fighter. You'll love this place. Well, mate, I go there thinking I'm going to be the new Tyson Fury. And listen, I go in and I get my ass handed to me. I've got X all over.
Was it Thai boxing or something like that?
Thai boxing, yeah. So, mate, I walk in and I get a good hiding. Because he's but I come out of there thinking, Jesus, I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I felt like I found home. You could fight, you could hurt yourself, people were going in on you, I was going in on them. But what I really was attracted to was the discipline, was the energy of the environment. I remember thinking, Jesus Christ, some tasty fellas in there, but they're so polite. They're so disciplined, they're so structured, everyone's listening. And I remember thinking, man, that type of environment is something that I've always searched for. I had that moral code, respect. And a level of decency where, you know, as bad as I think I would always help an old woman across the road. I would always put, you know, like I said, my hand in my pocket. So I really started to adapt to this environment. So I started to, you know, do this for my own selfish reasons, which behind the curtain was to feel better. And I started to get results. I started to get a lot fitter. I started to look physically better, and my confidence started to grow. And my network started to grow. But I was still in this transition of two lives. And in between these two lives, I was losing who I thought I was or who I was supposed to be. And, you know, the only way I can explain this is like, you see people that are undercover, Dean, and, you know, they struggle to split the two lives. So this transformation period has been so difficult. I would probably say in the last 2 years, I'm seeing the back end of it. But that whole training, discipline, the habit of, you know, my health being my priority, personal development, the people, not just my work colleagues, but the actual fans of my classes and clients, and getting them results and being told I'm the best trainer in the world and all that stuff. You know, it took me to a place I never felt before, and I become very attracted to that. I started to feel like myself in that process, and I just started to listen to myself, and I just started to follow in, you know, the signs. And then, you know, I remember just fast forwarding a little bit. I remember being in a retreat in Greece, and this woman come over to me. She goes, "I know what you are," and I was like, "Oh shit, here we go." You know, because it was always a concern. Like, I put myself out there. You know, he's going to bite me on the ass at some point, which I was always willing to pay the consequence of my actions. And you know, being bold and living above the rules has its beauty, right? And I just felt limitless at this point. And she said, "You're an indigo child." And I was like, "What? What the hell's one of them?" She says, "I'm a spiritualist." And I went to walk off, like, no disrespect to any spiritualists. And she described me to a T. And I was just like, Jesus, how did you even know that? And she's like, "I told you he was an indigo child." And as she left, she said, "Do not stop listening to your voice." I was like, "Your voice?" She said, "Your heart." And I was like, "It's crazy you say that, because that's what I've been doing." Funny enough, I flew from there to go and see Garrett J. White. And the first thing he did when he
Wake Up
Warrior Summit, I went out there to meet those fellas. And the first thing he said was, "Who's listening to the voice?" "Who is the voice?" And I'm like, "What voice are we talking about?" And he's like, "The voice." And I was like, this is like, what's going on? Like, I need any more signs. And at that point there, with that progress and building my own community, my own gathering, I truly felt like I was starting to make a success of my life. So, you know, the fitness of the environment of fitness didn't just physically change me, but internally, externally, environment, opportunity, the network was a significant help in the transition from where I was to where I am now.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's something that a big lesson that I've learned. Like, the people that are around you, and they can be selectively and tactically chosen. You know, like, sometimes we really need that in order to become a greater version of ourselves. And when you touched on that identity issue there, I can totally relate, because before I joined the army, like, I was only 16. You know, God knows what would have happened if I didn't join the army, where I would have went. Because where I grew up, it was kind of common knowledge. Like, most of us, we didn't really see, like, myself and my mates in our circle, we didn't really see ourselves being much else other than a drug dealer. Right? Well, we came from, that was like an ambition for quite a lot of us, because for the older guys that maybe a few years older than us, that's what a lot of them did. And, you know, they had the nice cars, they had the nice, wore the nice clothes. And we didn't have social media back then. No, we didn't know anything outside of our own streets, right? Our own postcode. So these were our influences. And of course, we had our parents and stuff. But, you know, my dad was kind of involved in that world as well. So, you know, there you go. Great guy, decent guy, still is. And he has a great dad. But he was involved in that world, and that was an influence for me. So at that stage, like, I was, I had already started selling weed. Or, sorry, I don't think we had weed back then. It was hash. Back in those days, it was the solid stuff, the old school stuff. But and I get this opportunity to, and I wasn't interested. Like I was in this youth scheme where they make youth kids more employable just by helping us more with maths and English and stuff like that. And the army came in and they did this presentation on, and most of us weren't interested. We just listening, like, oh, this another presentation, and I'm like, do you know what? That sounds fucking good. This man's like, no, I'm going to give this a try, and that was it. Like I stopped smoking cannabis at that point, so that I could get in some sort of state to pass the test and join the army, and that worked out for me. And I was always known as a quiet kid, very reserved. I wasn't the guy who spoke up much in a crowd or anything like that. And people always said that they noticed at the army that the biggest thing it did for me was change my confidence. I became a much more confident person. But it didn't just change my confidence; it changed me physically, changed me mentally. It just grew me, and that was purely down to the people around me in the army that allowed that transition to happen. And I had a lot of leverage in order to quit some bad habits and not go back to that and keep going through the tests and push. And I think that was a hopeful future. Something that I didn't know this existed. There's an exciting journey ahead here, a life of adventure, something completely new, becoming a completely different person.
Danger, right? And a life of danger to some degree.
Yeah, I think that's quite attractive to a lot of men.
It really is. We're very logic, ain't we? We are very logic, and that was, massively relatable. I remember going to some army thing, and I struggled with being told what to do, which was something I know I would have been a great soldier because I'm all about that. Like the characteristics of a great soldier. Look, for the soldiers that I know, like yourself, I see them. We talked about this in Unbreakable the other week. We were saying, look, the qualities that you see in people that attract you to him, the characteristics, like that's the shadow, that's the mirror image of what really lies in you. Yeah. And that's going back to those streets when, you're a kid and you've been told you're going to be fuck all and there's no opportunity and I felt like nothing. But the characteristics of seeing people who had wealth and had power and had the authority, that was very attractive to me at the time. And that's where, bad company attracts bad company. And, there's been a lot of good things come from where I'm from, and a lot of with a lot of bad things from good intentions. And, a lot of men have perished. I've seen a lot of people not get that opportunity, but lose their mind in this process as well, not just lose their life. The devastation around families and all that type of stuff. Like, I'm no angel, but that's what I'm trying to do to others now. I'm just trying to say, hey, I ain't here to be an hypocrite. I am never going to tell you what you can and can't do. That is never going to be my job. But what I can do is give you some life skills that hopefully you can make a better decision. And if you want to be the world's biggest dickhead and you feel like you want to be that, who am I to question that? Go and be one. Living with that purpose. And I think when that woman was saying there was an indigo child, she was like, you struggle with life rules. You struggle with the systematic sedation of this structure. And I really did. I was a rebellion against it. So they called me the rebel. But it wasn't out of, I'm just going to be no obedient. I would just question. I would ask questions that people wouldn't ask because I couldn't get it. And because I couldn't get it, I needed an answer. Those answers in search of those great questions to myself led me on that journey. And I just want to touch on that, like the power of asking yourself powerful questions. Because we blinker off so much. We're like, yeah, I know I need to do something, but I don't want to look at it. We don't want to look at truth. We don't want to look at truth because it can be so, if emotions are feedback, it can be so painful to check in on yourself and go, like I did at 17 stone in jail, like, nah, there's no one to blame here. You ain't entitled to shit. You're a product of your own decisions. So if I'm a product of my own decisions, then if I make some better decisions, I might get some better qualities out of life. Crazy how opportunities are raised. But we become so fixed and so absorbed in that pre-paved strategy or pre-paved goal or pre-paved lifestyle. The other lifestyle that I was hearing was you need to get a job, you need to go to school, go to college, go to uni, get a job and get married. Although that might be attractive to some, I was like, nah, no, that ain't for me. Entrepreneurship at them days was never heard of. Entrepreneurship was, listen, this is how you sell products. This is how you move products. you know, and to give me that opportunity, like them qualities that I had there are still these qualities now. I'm not changing the quality I am. I just point in a different direction. You know, one of the things I believe I've got that's a great quality is that I can calculate risk very quick. You know, like yourself, Dean, and I'm willing to go for high risk and high reward. I'm willing to go to low risk and low reward. Like I am going to live life as fast as I can, as long as I can stay on the road, and that hasn't changed. But I'm in the driving seat now. You know, for a long time there was nobody in that wheel. You know, and that's it. Like results come from your own actions, and that must be freeing for some people, because if people think they're stuck, they're like, nah, you know, if I start taking a different course with the same energy, with the same action, because living that lifestyle, if you looked at it in terms of spending money, you were flying through it. Like time and energy there in that place, it slows down, it sucks the life out of you. So I started to realize if I was capable of doing it hard, then I was capable of doing it great. So if anyone's going through an hard time, like to have that skill to go through a hard time, flip that in contrast, you can have the same going through a great time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have that skill.
So what I'm taking from that, mate, is like, you know, if you have the ability to endure a hard time, you know, with a mind that to get better results in our life, whether it be better health, better mindset, better job, better business, better career, you know, we have to be able to endure a hard time. So, like, why not just transfer the ability to endure a hard time into that which gets us better results in my life? Is that where you're?
Yeah. Well, I explain. Yeah, absolutely. I explain it like this. You know, imagine you had a pH scale and 0 was just like equilibrium, calm. -10 is angry as shit, and +10 is like love and excitement. Well, my theory, which I believe is true, is that people who struggle the most have a big heart, because we have that capacity. We can feel sadness at its extreme. We can feel anger at its extreme. We can feel guilt at its extreme. But with that skill, you can feel excitement at the same, with the opposite end of the scale. You have that ability. You have that capability. Like, it's for real. You know, those people who don't give a shit, that don't really get so bitter and so guilty, or don't worry about how they affect or offend people, or, you know, I ain't got, you know, they're in the 1s and 2s and 3s, but they'll never love up to the 10s or never feel as excited. It's just mundane, you know? And you can see it, you know, anyone who's really struggling right now, people actually give a fuck. You know, so it's that capability of going, hey, you know, you're at an 8, a -8, and we need to just get you to a 7, to a 6, to a 5, to a 4. And till this day, you know, I still have insecurity. Till this day, I still have low confidence. Till this day, you have times you're just going to get stressed out. But we have to understand that's part of progression. And it's not a massive issue. The issue is when it becomes chronic. And then, you know, in my own experience, that's where sedation come in, because I'm just trying to escape this reality with anything that makes me feel better. It's the easy route out. And then if that's all we know as a way of feeling better up this emotional scale, then obviously it's going to become a habit. And men are struggling with this right now because we think we have to be macho. You know, my Cody, I mean, he makes my story looks like, you know, we have to be careful in what we say, but he makes my story look like an advert. And his brother had done life. His brother had done life. This is quite recent. Come out 6 months later, hung himself. And I'm sat there with my brother, like my Cody, looking at him like, how does a man that's just done 17 years in jail come out and commit suicide? I had to inquire. I really had to inquire. And my theory on that is this emotional scale. You know, we become a prisoner of our own thoughts, become caged to our own limiting beliefs and sometimes our own bullshit. And that's the problem. Like, there's no way of processing this. You know, yes, I had outlets. To think I could change me mentally and emotionally just through the physical world is a myth. That's like trying to meditate to get a 6-pack. But they definitely overlap. I like to call them the bank of accountability. Like, you've got a physical, you've got a mental, you've got an emotional account. And if you're always drawing from these accounts and not putting back in, where I was at 17 stone, angry, you know, entitled, victim mentality, thinking the world owed me everything, and I was, you know, no reason but my fault, you know, everyone's to blame. My accounts were so overdrawn. There was no wonder I was hitting charges everywhere. I was getting bit on my ass.
When
You know,
you mention putting back into those accounts, mate, what are some examples of making deposits in? What are those three areas? Can you just
yeah, it's a
elaborate
great,
on that?
absolutely, Dean. So the pros, I mean, the investment of these accounts is habits.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the basic in physical is obviously looking after your physical self. If it's a gym, if it's Thai boxing, if it's yoga, if it's walking, if it's running, we have to feed that account through physical demand. When we think about things like mental work, it's clarity is one. Training your awareness is another. Inside awareness, we have a posture, which is attention, concentration, and willpower. These are elements and practical things that we can train. We've either got a very well-trained dog with our awareness everywhere, people pinballing from the predicted future to the remembered past. If emotions are feedback, we do a phenomenal training on this called a Mind Mansion. I won't deep dive too into it, but people sit in these locked rooms in the remembered past or the predicted future as if it's reality, and it stops them living present. So we help them train that. The quickest way, I would say, as a habit is to do one thing and do it well. Train concentration, train willpower, train attention, because what you focus on will grow. Meditation, a phenomenal tool. And then we talk about emotional health. We've got a phenomenal tool called heart breathing, doing things that you enjoy, reflection, journaling the wins that you've done, small or big. People say, oh, Ben, some days you have shit days. And I'll say, listen, not every day is great, but it's great in every day. You just have to mind that gold. It's a mentality. And this trifecta of investment creates an energy. Well, from a scientific process, it takes you away from survival, but creates this energy of coherence in between the heart and the mind. And you are the harnesser of life. You've got it by the balls, you've got it by the horns. The opposite, you've got an untrained dog running all over the show. You're physically out of shape, you're mentally out of shape, you're emotionally out of shape. And at some point, you will either sedate or be, prescribed medication. And this is trying to treat the cause of symptoms. Where if we treat the cause, we get rid of the symptoms. You've seen this yourself, Dean, right? In the gym. And I think, just to add on to that, this is where I think in my personal training industry, I loved that process. I mean, the people, the experience, the development, all that stuff is, those are such a huge part of my story, my transformation. But I remember getting at some point thinking, man, people are training very well here, but mentally they're staying the same. And it was happening for me as well. I think when I become my most legit was where I struggled all over again, because I was like, well, now I'm supposed to feel better. I've got a beautiful family. I've transformed my life. I'm in shape. At that point, I was doing well in Thai boxing. I got a little English title. Like, shit was going on. I was getting opportunity. People wanted me to speak. I'm like, behind the scenes, I was like, I feel worse than I was when I was doing my shit.
So why do you think that was?
Well, I know why it was, because I had this expectation of that's how that life looks, and because it looks like that, I'll be happy. I was looking at it from external, and I didn't know how to keep it internal. I didn't know how to train the mind, didn't know how to train emotion, didn't know how to reflect, didn't know all the stuff that obviously we know now. And going back to what I was saying before, Dean, it was those questions to myself, being critical, being able to ask myself a question and being honest, that led me, to the next logical step. And that's the process, Dean. It's small steps towards big results. And sometimes we can take a big step and we come off balance. But if you do come off balance, are you willing to fall down and get back up? It's all these characteristics, But that was the reason why, is that I depended on this reality that looked happy. And I got there and it looked nothing like how it did, created a shock in me.
I would just like to backtrack a little bit from that, mate. On the transformation physically, your health in your body, professionally, becoming this guy who helps other people now, a new identity, so to speak. Do you feel that the people around you during that process had a big impact in keeping you on that path and being successful in achieving those things?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it was twofold that. I was struggle to read and write at a point when I was getting my qualification. And I remember seeing people seeing qualities in me. And I remember these personal trainers were like, the coaches for me MVQ level 3 realized I was struggling reading and writing. And they was like, hey, you can deliver. You just need to speak and the room stops. we're going to help you through this process. We're going to ask you the questions, and when you're answering, they will write them down. Like, this is a level of help that I got. People's kindness, people's appreciation, people's understanding my story, hearing glimpses, people hearing stories. Like, there's so many significant keys to this environment. And as I started to make these steps and the environment got bigger, and, you know, our hearts attract, and, you know, I started to realize the more I gave in this world, the more it was starting to give back. The quality of people started to change. Now, where I'm from, those quality of people are heartfelt people. Don't get, you know, this type of lifestyle. You know, I know the media like to play that lifestyle of just the scum of the earth. Mm-hmm. It ain't the way, you know, like, it really isn't. You know, sometimes we keep the dark at bay, and we have done for a long time. The dark that you would think is, man, you would think it was conspiracy theories if I spoke about it. But the reality of what I'm saying is that there's still good people in the rough, right? There's still diamonds in there.
Yeah,
and when I started to make this transition, I started to see this new light, and there was this new environment. I tried to open it up to my old world. And this was another transition phase that I struggled with, because I was trying to save everybody, and it was bringing me to my knees. And I got it was Garrett J. White, I think, that said it, or maybe another coach, I can't remember. But in fact, you know, it was Paul Mort. It was Paul Mort. I'd done something with that fellow, and it was an immersion over 4 days. And what they were trying to do was try to do some like army style stuff, trying to break it down. They were just doing a similar thing to Warrior. And anyway, the thing was to break it down, to see these traits that pulled up. You know, see your true traits, like your hidden darkness, so to say. And anyway, I just not long broke my leg. I've got stitches hanging out my head. I'm running upstairs. Like, they knew, you know, they had a different character in town. And I was just there to break myself as much as I can, because I thought this process of like going through more pain would get me more answers, which, you know, looking back on it now, was stupid. But the lesson that I got from it was, we'd been awake for a couple of days. We were sat on a beach. It wasn't really a competitive thing, but I was competitive. We had to put our hands behind our back and go from one side to the beach to the other, which it wasn't that far. But anyway, I hit this ground and I'm off like a worm. And I remember getting to the finish line, looking back, and a couple of fellas are struggling. So me being me, I run back and I'm like, keep going, don't you stop. And it might have been Simon or Paul. Anyway, like, I look and there's some feet, and I look up, and Simon or Paul, whoever it was, and he goes, what are you doing? And I said, what do you mean, what am I doing? I'm helping. He says, helping? What do you mean helping? You're trying to save him. He says, are you a lighthouse or a tugboat? I remember thinking, Jesus, what a question that is. He says, now you stand on that finish line and show him what's required, because every time he gets to this point, he quits. And I stood on that finish line as a lighthouse, and I've kept that forever. Like, because I realized then when he asked me the question, that was my breaking point. I was not breaking. Nothing was breaking. If anything, I was helping people break through by breaking them. But that was my kryptonite at the time, Dean, is that I was serving everybody in and this can show up in many ways: acceptance, love, you know, insecurities, like, you know, I'm going to make sure my kids feel great, but I'll feel like shit. You know, I'll love my partner, but I need him to love me, but I don't got no love for myself. You know, and I remember realizing then, geez, I am trying to save everybody. I'm trying to pull everyone towards a shore, but what I need to do is just be that lighthouse, let them come towards me, because fundamentally that's where they grow and make progression. And that was a very hard lesson learned. But with that environment and that, you know, contrast, I was like, right, this is where I'm at. And I've never let it down. I've had people struggle, you know, friends of mine, wives crying their eyes like, Ben, you need to save. And I'm like, I am. I've just got to be the lighthouse. And some of this, you know, people were falling out, me like, what's he mean? And then they've seen it over time. They've seen that point where people have made that progress and followed the success of me and learned their capacity, learned them skills, grown in character, grown in strength, grown in courage. And I see it. I see it all the time now. And it's great to be a part of, but I know I've got lighthouses. You know, you can be a lighthouse to me, Phil, all these other people. So it's not like the lighthouse, I'm the strongest. Lighthouses are going off all over the show.
Yeah.
And that's the signaling. That's the signaling that we I think society is lacking at the minute, or understanding.
I think that's something that's really important, because a word that you'll hear a lot is accountability, right? And when I've got some guys reaching out to me, they're interested in starting the rebirth program, they want to lose weight, get healthier, get in shape. You know, a lot of them will say, I need accountability, and accountability is a great thing. But I think really we need more influence. We need people to look up to see like where I can go. You know, I can see where he's at, and he's in my life. He's influencing me, and I can look at him and go, well, I can, you know what, I can get there. He's telling me I can get. He's showing me the fucking way. Like I can do this, and that's something that I learned all the way through my military career. I mean, yes, especially in the early days, we have accountability to death, but that all kind of starts to fade away when you pass out of training, and you're expected to be something greater eventually. And one of the very first guys that impacted me was my first section commander, and the beginning of training, and what an impact that guy had on my life. Like, you know, I was coming from this little Ned, or Chav, as you call it, from the streets, and what a leader, what an example, what an influencer, what a pusher. You know, he was all these different things at different points when he had to be. And what I think is important for us to do, who are in this coaching space and trying to help people, is help them have more self-belief in what they can actually achieve, you know, and not just hold you accountable, you know, wipe your ass for you, and check up on you and make sure you're doing things. And you know, actually, like, come on, like, I'm showing you the path, you can do this. And let's start believing in yourself, and people will get so much more from that, along with a little bit of accountability in the process. And that's why it's so important to have things like coaches, like other people around you who are already on those kind of journeys, so that you can be influenced along that journey and achieving your goals. Do you know what I'm saying, mate? Does that resonate with you?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I've done six figures and above in what you would call self-development, in paying in people to understand their skills, how they're doing it. You know, not trying to be them, but like, hey, you know, I'll do it. Like, every soldier's a different soldier, but they all carry the same gun and you know how to fire it. Someone will be different at shooting, someone will be different at, you know, everyone's got a unique ability. But I am so obsessed with that wisdom. I am so obsessed. Forget knowledge, wisdom. And to be fair, I'm at a level now of that. If you're at a certain quality, you know, I'm going to accept your knowledge, I'm going to accept your wisdom, I'm going to accept your skills, but then I have to get practical. And that's what I feel coaching is. It's not trying to tell people, it's not trying to do it for people, which is this myth. It's giving people that guidance, that skill, that practicality, that vision, that clarity, that logical next step. And bit by bit, they start to make that, you know, improve self-esteem, improve love, improve connection, improve confidence. And it's something that we've always had. You think we question this as a kid? You know, we learn off everything else, don't we? We learn off the mistakes that we make. We learn off the lessons. We learn off the wins. We learn off our parents. You know, think about language. And we get to like high school and above, and it just disappears. So it's so common that you had a command leader, I've had this person, I had that person, but significant people that made a huge difference. Sometimes just this conversation between two men just being real and raw sparks something in someone, ignites something in someone, and really we'll never know if that was you know, in 10 years' time, is this now a massive flame and a massive influence to his own family and his own life. Yeah. And instead of all the nuggets, you know, I will always listen. And people are, you know, out here right now, like, talk is so cheap. You know, I look at people and before they even speak, I know what they say. You know, but my judgment on that is like, I will never ever shut the door on anyone, because it's always that moment to go, now it's time. And I've seen it either goes that way or it goes that way. You know, that real traumatic or real event or that real realization that goes, shit, I need to make a difference. I need to make some changes. And that's where I feel like men struggle, because they struggle to ask for guidance.
100%.
It's help. And at that point there, they try and figure it out on their own, and they can't outthink how they feel, and you can't outsolve the problem, that the mindset that caused that problem, and you end up in this feedback loop thinking, shit, I've just got to be successful in business and pout on fucking Facebook every day, and that's it, you know, I'm a successful, achievable man, and it couldn't be any further from the truth. So if there's anything that I take from this message from me and you today is a sign of weakness can be a sign of strength. And a sign of strength can also be a sign of weakness. And the reality of, if you can look at yourself in that strength at your weakest point and go, shit, I need to make some changes. Asking for guidance or asking for help isn't asking for someone to do it for you. It's asking for the skill or the tool that can help you improve, build an empire or build your next bit of pave. Because, you know, vision is, it's like an empty space. It needs filling. And in that vision is no path. Every pavement, has to be pre-paved and made with a step forward. And I understand the body doesn't like to change, but change is required. And change is always going to happen by default or by you. You know, sorry, Dean, go on.
I was just going to say that's so important. Like, change is happening whether you like it or not.
Absolutely. And these, you know, and that's it. In terms of as mankind right now, a lot of these skills they're in a big old dirty book at the bottom of some buried history. You know, like we got to understand that every man and every woman that is here today is the evolution of the strongest bloodline. You've been through an evolution process that just needs a medal in its own. And we live one life, and, you know, living life in fear and stopping us from living, we're never getting another shot at this. We really are. And when you have that relationship with death and you can understand it and not hide it, what happens is it creates a level of urgency for you to stop sweating the small stuff, right?
Yeah, sorry, cut out a wee minute the other bit, Ben.
Yeah, I think yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah, I'm still here, mate. Can you?
Yeah, we're good, mate. Honestly, that stuff that you were just talking about there, that was absolutely class. And on that point, I actually wanted to mention this earlier on, but we got quite deep into the conversations. If you're watching this, I know there's not many people tuning in live, but if you're watching back the replay or whatever, shoot us up in the comments and let us know, like, what's the one big take home that you are taking away from Ben's message on this video today. Let us know. And Ben, I've got a couple more questions before we finish up, mate. In health and well-being, what is some of the biggest things that you've learned in the past year alone?
In health and well-being, I think, you know, an easy answer would just be say, you know, you're as healthy as your habits. Show me your habits, and I can show you your future. And you know, for me, health it's a bit cliche, but health is wealth. And you know, I don't want to live the, you know, if I can live a long life, great, but the quality of life is more important. And I think the quality of life depends on the quality of your health. You know, the quality of health determines your journey of life. And to think that we disrespect that, and I've, you know, I'm no oil painting, I've disrespected it, but to think that the responsibility of our health is someone else's responsibility is insane. Like, you are responsible. Well, I am, but that's my observation. Like I am responsible for my health, you know. And I know, like, society breaks it down that people this and people that, but the reality is living a life by design and living a life healthy and happy and purposeful trumps being externally rich and successful. And if I can get a blend of both, I'm good. But I would never sacrifice time and my health at any cost of business, of work. Like, none of that shit will come before my health. Like, I am the number one priority, because if I'm good, everything else will get better. If I'm happy, people are happy. If I can love myself unconditionally, I can love the people I love unconditionally. If I can trust myself, I can trust them people. If I've got a connection with myself, I can got a connection with them. If I've got strength in you see how this works. And it's the opposite way around. And that's where health sits. This here, heart first, it's key.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And it's the important thing is really accepting full responsibility for those, regardless of the circumstances, and always looking at, you know, what you can do in any situation to work on your health. You spoke about those bank accounts, those practices, those habits, and making sure that you're not just withdrawing from those and you're making the investments. And on that note, mate, what are some of your daily non-negotiables? What are some practices? What are some conscious things, or just automated habits that you have that keep you in good mental and physical?
Yeah, I love this question because people go, "Fucking hell, is that?" But if you hear this and take something from it, it's not about I have to do what Ben's doing, I have to do what Dean's doing. Like, what's the next logical step for you? If you're not drinking water, drink a pint of water. If you're not getting up in the morning, but anyway, so here's where I'm at, which took a long time to get, and it's quite detailed. Like I get up in the morning, and the first thing I try to do now is go down and see my puppy, a little dose, a little oxytocin right there. But let him out, go over. I have a glass of water. And as I'm breathing, I'm just trying to be as present as possible. Then I have, some breathing exercises. Then I put on a bit of music, do something I start moving the body in the way I want to move it, as crazy as it sounds. Then we sit down, do a little bit of journaling, where it's just some purposeful, powerful questions. The journals that we've got are already prepaid with questions. So I'm asking some decent questions to raise emotion. Then I do something called heart breathing by the Heart Math Institute. And then I do some meditation, and I am primed. Sorry. And then we have a 4-minute exercise, and that's just to stem blood flow. I mean, just to get the body going, rev up the engine, right? The science behind that is looking at 4 minutes. Like, we don't want a massive load of stress, but we want to impact the body. We want to wake it up. And for me, I've engaged emotionally, mentally, and physically. Then it's to getting the kids ready, boom, 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 and then I'll go through a day. I've got some skills that I use for the day, but then I also have a wind down. I'm journaling. I come away from blue light quite early. Got some breathing techniques. Sometimes I like to meditate. If I want to do that, I'll have a good conversation with my wife. I sleep in a dark room, and sleep is probably the most underrated habit on the planet. That's where all the adaptation, recovery and repair happens. 100%. And for them, if anybody I'm coaching like you, Dean, we get them right first. Win the morning, win the day is a great philosophy, and I stand by that. And it takes a level of discipline, of courage, strength, planning, scheduling. It gets you a little bit out of your comfort zone, and a return investment from implementing these simple habits is you'll feel a little bit better. You'll feel a bit more confident. You'll feel a bit more structured. You'll feel a bit more focused. You'll have a bit of better concentration, because that's the practicality and the feedback and the return investment from investing in yourself like that. So, I mean, that's me morning and evening in a nutshell. And but yeah, if you're hearing this, it's just like, take anything from that. I think getting yourself a glass of water in the morning, getting yourself in some daylight, moving the body, putting a bit of music on that makes you feel good, and put a big smile on your face, you'll see a significant difference.
And those are things that are so simple, but they obviously have a ripple effect into the rest of your day, and some decisions and habits and feelings and moods that you have, mate. And you mentioned it a little minute ago as well. Like, it took you a long time to get to that, right? And the reason that is because it takes so long to start a new habit. Right, and you're saying like your first time you get up and you go and have a glass of water, that's a habit in itself, right? And that you can start that and do it for a week, and then that can easily start to slip out because it's not something that you routinely do yet. Yeah. And in our programs, when we break habits down into like kind of micro steps, and whether it's a morning routine or an evening routine, or to try to get more protein at each meal, it's like, right, listen, this one thing, this is all that matters, and we're practicing this every day for 2 weeks. Do not expect perfection, expect setbacks, expect to slip up. But the key here is, whenever you realize you're kind of falling out of it, you draw a line, you dust yourself down, and you practice that new thing again. Science shows apparently it takes somewhere around 66 days to form a new habit.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a long time.
Old habits die hard, and I think that's, it's a great point. People look for that perfect. And people say, perfection is death. Because it's over, there's nothing from there. It's perfect, it's done. And that's what perfection is, isn't it? There's nothing more from that point. So if we just drop perfection and look for progress and give yourself credit for making that progress, this day and age, we're giving ourselves such a hard time for going through a hard time. Like, really? But like what Dean's saying there, when you do these micro steps, these simple, effective doses, minimal effective doses, we like to call it, it's so simple, we disregard it. But energy loves simplicity. And if you want this desensitization to change, do it minutely. because you won't get the adverse reaction from the brain, like, whoa, what the fuck's this? This 20-minute meditation, why do I want to change my life that much? Like, you're in this contrast of fight with yourself, right? But if you just went, hey, let me get a minute on there, and you just, you know, nicely introduce it like a little puppet to your life, nurture it like a seed, you know, let it grow, like, let it be where it is, and one day it's a big tree. Jim Rohn said it the best. He used to say, from a network marketing standpoint, if you keep throwing seeds on the floor, eventually something will grow. Yeah, that makes sense, you know. So I think that's what you have to do, like monitor your progress. I think coaching now is the future for most people making progress, not just for the accountability. Yeah, I think accountability is important, like you said. But, you know, if you need accountability to live a great life, then fuck, man, you need to ask yourself that question again. But that accountability around each other, that environment, that community environment and accountability is phenomenal. But
that's the power of influence, isn't it?
Power of influence, and knowing that, you know, we step into people like Dean and myself, and we, you know, we're coming from a place of experience and practice and not personality. You know, this industry is full of personalities at the minute, no disrespect, because, you know, anyone that's making a success I've got respect for, but it's a dangerous game that people are trying to talk this level of influence from a level of textbook rather than experience and practice. And imagine you going in the army and people have never been on the field. This is the problem with the army boys. Like, you've never been to war, stop putting us in war. Come and see war on the front line and you'll see. And, you know, to end it on this note, and, you know, I know you've got the same philosophy, Dean, is if you're going to do something, do it to your best ability, whether it's sweeping the streets or making, you know, funds. And before you feel better, feel better. Before you do better, do better. Like, it starts with that step, doesn't it? And don't ever underestimate the power of just a one little improvement. You know, going to bed 5 minutes early, having a discipline not to touch your phone for 5 minutes when you get up, and then it's 10 minutes, and it's 15 minutes. You know, if we get up and we don't do any of the habits that me and Dean are talking about, and your power and energy goes into your phone, then there's your practicality, right? It's like, can I put that down for 5 minutes? Can I not have that notification ping and not pick the phone up? If you don't accept that as a part of change in your own life, then you won't see change.
100%. And listen, I know you've got a call next, Ben, literally like in 60 seconds. So we're going to finish this up. Ben, this has been awesome. Honestly, mate, I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I know the guys tuning in on the replay will get a ton from this. And guys, like, if you are taking something away from this, post in the comments, let us know what that is. Ben, where, for anyone who's interested, where can they check out your stuff? Is there a place?
Yeah, I really appreciate that, man. It's been great being on. I'm very grateful for the opportunity. And yeah, I mean, I'm on all socials. Benjamin Fanning on Benjamin Fanning. You don't hear that often on Instagram. Ben Fanning on Facebook and on the Facebook page. If you want to get me on there, I'm always open to have a conversation, mano a mano. But Dean, thank you very much. It's great what you're doing in the realm of men. It's someone I've got massive respect for, and hopefully, mate, we'll be climbing Kilimanjaro. How about that?
I would love to get you along with us, mate.
Oh, mate, I think I'm in. I'm there. I just, as macho as I think I am, I just need that after misses, mate, and we're in.
Come on in. Let's speak to the boss tonight.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Ben, thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. See you soon, bro.